fear is a part of life. Hurting people and getting hurt is a part of life. It doesn't mean that you intentionally should be trying to hurt people.
Of course.
But look, you see it with kids all the time. You spend an afternoon with a child and they're going to laugh, they're going to have so much fun, and then they're going to trip and they're going to hurt themselves and they're going to start crying.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody tried to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't on purpose. You're learning from a very young age that you're going to bump your head and get hurt sometimes, and that's just life.
Mm-hmm.
So the sooner that you can accept that, and the sooner that you can accept that even by having the best intentions, you might hurt somebody, then you can actually breathe and live your life.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit, a podcast exploring the intersection of Western astrology and Jungian psychology. Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth, while psychology helps us navigate both conscious and unconscious experiences. Together, these tools offer the potential for self-understanding, growth, and transformation. Join astrologer Scott Tajarian and me, psychotherapist Gabriella Durso, as we dive into the cosmic forecast each week.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit. This is the week of August 5th through the 11th. Hi, Gabriella.
Hi, Scott.
Let's begin with the first transit, which is the Sun, the planet of light, life, and vitality, transiting through the fixed fire sign, symbolized by the lion, which is ruled by the Sun, forming a sextile, which is a positive aspect to Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion, transiting through the mutable air sign, symbolized by the twins, Gemini. This is occurring at 13 degrees, and it occurs most strongly from Sunday, August 4th to Thursday, August 8th, with an exact sextile occurring on Wednesday, August 2nd. So it feels like a lot of abundance coming up. Hopefully this week, this transit feels incredibly positive. When you have the Sun, the planet of light, life, and vitality, and understanding wherever it goes, whatever it's connecting to, it's bringing light, life, and vitality. And it's connecting to Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion. So it's bringing light, life, and vitality to the planet of luck and expansion. So hopefully this means that we're all getting a break. The tension in the world is sort of subsiding for a little bit, and we're able to take that deep breath and really expand our lungs. You know, Gemini rules the lungs. Jupiter's expansion. The Sun is vitality. Leo is the heart. So taking that deep breath and just basking in the sunlight and allowing it to, that wave of energy to just envelop you and feel that strength, that power.
So there's an opportunity to receive.
And I think so. Or express, to give. You know, the Sun, it gives light. Leo is the most generous sign. It's the sign that is associated with the king. And the benevolent king gives. So it is receiving, but it's also giving.
Well, and the relationship between the two.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That it's easier to give from a place of fullness and vitality and having all of your needs met.
Right. So I'm curious, what do you have at 13 degrees in your astrological code? In a fire sign, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, or an air sign, which is Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini, a fixed sign, which in addition to Leo and Aquarius is Taurus and Scorpio, or a mutable sign, which in addition to Gemini and Sagittarius is Virgo and Pisces. If you have anything at or near to 13 degrees in any of the signs that I just mentioned, then this aspect between the Sun and Jupiter is aligning with whatever key point or planet is at or near to 13 degrees in any of the signs that I mentioned. So say for instance, if you were born with Venus at 13 degrees in Sagittarius, then you may be feeling that sense of vitality and abundance in terms of your senses, your love nature, your relationships. Maybe a partner is giving you a gift that feels like, wow, that's so generous, that's so wonderful. Or maybe you're feeling the urge to give back to them in some way.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to work with this energy? What do you want to manifest or create for yourself? Who do you want to appreciate? What do you want to receive?
Beautiful questions. Mm-hmm. Feels like just a moment to rest.
That's your favorite thing to do, my love.
To rest.
Yeah. You went to rest and relax. So it'll be a good week for you, I hope.
I hope so too. Well, so often, I don't know, there's just so much going on and moving and shifting and changing that very rarely do we say that there's not a lot of movement or that there's an opportunity for stillness. So that feels like a welcome shift.
This week feels like the calm before the storm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the storm's always coming, right?
The storm's always coming. You're right.
So there needs to be some sort of downshift. There needs to be some rest before activity. And this could be that. But, I think another way to look at it too is still, rather than resting, this can be a week where you're really getting a lot done because of that spaciousness.
Like getting caught up on things.
Getting caught up. And when you're thinking about getting caught up, let's remember that Mercury is retrograde. And that will lead us into the next transit, which is Mercury retrograde, forming a conjunction with Venus in Virgo. Mercury's the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination. Transiting retrograde through the mutable Earth sign, which it rules, Virgo, and forming a conjunction with Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships, Venus. This is occurring at 3 degrees in Virgo, and this conjunction occurs from Tuesday, August 6th to Thursday, August 8th, with an exact conjunction occurring on Wednesday, August 7th. So the same day that the Sun forms the sextile with Jupiter is the day that Mercury forms a conjunction with Venus. So when you think of getting caught up, that's how I think of Mercury retrograde. It's a time to really focus on everything that is on your plate and not add anything new to your plate, but really just hone in on clearing what is already on your plate. When you're in Vegas and you go to the buffet and it's all you can eat and you load your plate up, you don't take 2 bites and then go back to the buffet and put more food on your plate. You wait till you've finished your plate and then you might go back. This is a time to just sit and finish what is on your plate.
So that expansion is giving us the capacity to do that, maybe to the capacity and the momentum to sort of push through that.
Yes. It's giving you that when you say capacity, I just think of spaciousness. Like there's nothing else coming in, so let's clear off what we already have that we're working on. It's like sometimes when there's too much spaciousness, like we get anxious and we want to just fill the time with doing something. And really, if you just sit for a minute, go through your list. We should all have a list right now with Mercury in Virgo, with Venus in Virgo. We should all have a list, a to-do list. This is what I want to get done. This is what I need to get accomplished today, this week, this month. What's on your list? And if you feel like you're in that anxious space because nothing's happening and you want something to happen right now, go back to your list. There's something else that you can work on. Whatever you want to happen is going to eventually happen. Hopefully, if you want it to happen, it will. But let's not try to force it right now. Let's just focus on everything else that we need to work on. And some of it is maybe just taking care of yourself. Cooking yourself a meal. Going for a walk. Gardening. Cleaning up around the house. Organizing. Getting rid of some things. Creating more spaciousness in that way. That's what Virgo is about. So with Mercury conjunct Venus, transiting back, while Venus is moving forward, we're at this kind of crossroads in terms of our relationships and our senses. What do I want to keep? What do I want to get rid of?
Well, and we know that the outer is reflecting the inner. So even in these experiences of cleaning out the house or tending to the body through nourishment and different ways of self-care, that can also have an impact on your inner life, on the mind. This is the basic principle of feng shui, which is a practice that I really enjoy when it comes to organizing my space and thinking about how my emotional life is affected by my home environment. So when you declutter your space, when you move the energy, when you move the furniture and clean behind it, there's a psychological shift that happens too in that process. You're giving yourself, you're inviting some sort of internal shift for yourself too. What is it that you need to clean behind in sort of the cobwebs of your own mind? So it serves more than just a three-dimensional purpose. It's really an opportunity to do some deeper work.
The clean outer world is a clean inner world. And it's so interesting how Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules the mind, and Virgo's all about cleansing, cleaning, organizing, efficiency. I mean, the planets and stars are literally telling you, if you have an organized exterior, then you're going to have an organized interior. Not only your mind, but also your intestines, because Virgo rules the intestines, and the intestines are about clearing out whatever's in the body that is no longer serving the body.
Absolutely.
So what are you cleansing? This could be a good time to cleanse the body. Maybe it's a good time to go on a cleanse, to shift your diet in some way, and see how. It's so important during this Virgo season. It's still Leo season, but with Mercury and Venus in Virgo, we're kind of stepping into Virgo season here. It's so important during this time to really pay attention to what you're putting into your body and how it affects your mind, as well as what you're putting into your mind and how it affects your body. So these two transits occurring basically at the same time, it feels like the first 4 days of this week, like Sunday to Thursday, even from last week, there's some real opportunities to catch up, to clear things out, and to get caught up in your life.
And what you're describing ultimately is self-care at the deepest level.
Yes, self-care, exactly.
We often think of self-care as I'm going to go get a massage, or I'm going to go buy something for myself. And those can be forms of self-care, but self-care also, it's at the most fundamental level is about caring for yourself in ways that are nourishing and grounding and cleansing and clearing. And like you described, this relationship between what you put into your mind and how it affects your body and vice versa, that's more important than anything you could go out and buy for yourself.
It's just the awareness.
It's the awareness. Self-care is how you take care of yourself on a daily level.
Yes.
in the mundane aspects of your daily life, which is Virgo. It's your health, it's your diet, it's the attitude that you carry through your life in the private moments with yourself.
Totally. When I think of Virgo, the symbol for Virgo is the Virgin. And the Virgin is the nun. Mother Teresa literally was a Virgo. She was a Virgo sun. And when you think of Mother Teresa, I mean, you think if you went to her bedroom or wherever she lived, she just had like a pile of dirty laundry in the corner, and just
Well, it depends. What's the rest of her chart?
Yeah, I doubt it. I don't know. I have to look, but no, like, she had dirty plates, from like food she was eating in the bed or whatever off to the side. No, like,
Probably not.
She, in order to be of service to others, which is a tent pole of Virgo, you can't be a hot mess. You have to be organized. How can I serve someone else, truly be of service to someone else, if my life is a mess? My life needs to be organized. I need to be healthy. I need to be taking care of myself. If I'm not healthy, if I'm not taking care of myself, if my life isn't organized, how can I help or take care of anyone else? How can I be of service to anyone else?
Yeah, well, you'll be doing it from a depleted place.
Mm-hmm. And it's not truly coming from that place of really wanting to be of service. You may look at the people you're serving with disdain because you're...
Could be some resentment.
Resentment, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And so this is about going within and doing some inner house cleaning so that you can be of better service to the people around you. So that's literally the entire week. Those two transits that's the focus for the week. We're going to do a lot of questions here because we have so many questions to get to. And so we have the spaciousness through this episode.
We're going to this is our housekeeping.
Exactly. We're doing our housekeeping. We're going to get through a lot of questions. But I really hope that what we shared here is going to inspire you to take that deep breath, to open your heart, to give, to receive, and to cleanse. Cleanse your mind, cleanse your body, cleanse your home, cleanse your daily routine so that you can be of better service, and being of service from that place of true joy, where you love being of service to the other person. Like, I have this to give. I am so grateful that I have this to give. Well, I'm so grateful that you do too, because I'm willing to receive it. Thank you. You're welcome, and thank you for receiving my gift. That's what this week is about.
Wonderful.
All right. Yes.
Our first question comes from Shell X Beach. And this is a two-parter. So I'll read just the first part.
Okay.
So my 4th house Pluto opposite my partner's 10th house Sun at 1 degree, or his 4th house Pluto opposite my 10th house Sun at 1 degree. Are we mirrors or at war?
Okay, let me think about this. My 4th house Pluto opposite my partner's 10th house Sun, or his 4th house Pluto opposite my 10th house Sun.
So the Sun and Pluto are opposites.
So both of your Plutos are opposite your Suns. That's what I'm hearing here. Your Pluto is opposite his Sun. His Pluto is opposite your Sun. Are we mirrors or at war? Well, both. I mean, it's a tense opposition, the Sun and Pluto. There's definitely transformation that is meant to come about through this relationship. I feel like this is some sort of karmic bond, because whenever Pluto is aligned with a planet in your chart from another person's chart, if somebody's Pluto is aligning with one of your planets, let's say, that indicates some sort of karma or past life connection, especially with the Sun. So regardless, you're meant to experience some form of transformation, as is your partner. It could be difficult because the opposition is intense. It's opposing. If you're opposing someone, if you're in opposition to someone, that's going to bring tension. Are you mirrors? In a sense, yes. That's true too.
Well, mirrors in the sense that they're both a catalyst for transformation for each other.
Exactly, yes.
In a way that it has a very conscious quality to it because it's the Sun. There's a really strong awareness, I imagine, for how you're transforming one another. And it's happening almost in a way that affects your identity, the core of who you are, yourself, the self. The Sun is your ego, your identity. So it's a powerful transformation, and it's also happening in a way that's very visible.
Well, she's obviously aware of it.
Well, because she's asking the question.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's meant to be a transformation that you can understand, that you can see, that you can name, that you can experience. So I think, to use a phrase that Scott enjoys, it's all about how you're working with the energy.
Yeah.
As to whether it feels like a mirror. I mean, you could say we're all mirrors for one another. But this element of war, there is an experience of needing to face conflicts that emerge in the transformation process. And so it's sometimes at times that could feel like being in the heat of battle, or it could also feel like the end of the war, when there's been this cathartic sort of expression of transformation and there's an opportunity to rest.
I think if Shell and her partner are aware of this transit or this synastry aspect through their 2 astrological codes, and they agree that they understand that there's an intensity to this relationship, then hopefully it doesn't feel like war. Hopefully it's, okay, we understand we have this tension. Let's be kind to each other. Let's care for one another. Let's recognize that we have this tension. And if it gets too intense, then somebody go for a walk, leave the house, take off for a few hours, come back after you've calmed down.
Create enough spaciousness in the relationship for time apart, even if it's in separate rooms or taking breaks from one another, because you're right, we can't be in a state of transformation 24/7.
It's too much.
It's too much. It's exhausting. So that's a good point. So part 2 of Shell's question: can you share insights on overcoming a natal Capricorn moon in the 6th house, square an Aries Venus in the 9th house? Is it too late to heal?
Is it too late to heal?
Never.
Shell, come on. It sounds like you're being really hard on yourself.
Yeah.
The whole reason why you're here is to grow and evolve, and it's never too late. No, there's no such thing as too late. Oh no, I screwed up. It's all over. I mean, even when you leave this body and go on to your next adventure, you're still going to be evolving and growing and healing and transforming. So, this Capricorn, 6th house Capricorn moon is, you might be really hard on yourself. I mean, Capricorn moon, your ambitions are very high and it's aligning with Venus. So your goals and ambitions for your relationship, not just with your partner, but with any friend, are probably really high. You probably have really high expectations. You might be very critical and extremely analytical in terms of your partners, but especially within yourself. The Aries Venus 9th house, there's that urge for freedom and courage and exploration, but it's being restricted in some way by your emotions. So what do you need to do to just let yourself be? Let your partner be. Just be who you are. Let your partner be who they are. And do your best to refrain from attempting to control everything.
Well, this reminds me of what we shared about the first part of the question of knowing when it's time to take a break and to rest. With this Capricorn moon being so goal-oriented and always wanting to get to the next ledge on the mountain, there is going to be an awareness of always wanting to improve, to move forward, to be better, to do better, more, faster, better, harder, stronger. And that is just built into the nature of who you are. But it's important on that hike up the mountain to also stop and enjoy the scenery, to take a moment to appreciate the sunset, the sunrise, while still recognizing that you're going to continue to climb up that mountain, to balance it with an appreciation for where you are and for how far you've come.
Absolutely. It's important for you to get outside. Like, you're giving all these great metaphors.
Yeah.
But take them literally. Get outside. With the Capricorn energy, climbing the mountain, the 9th house energy of Venus, that's the Sagittarius house. That's the Archer. Where does Robin Hood spend all of his time? Inside? No, he's outside in the forest. So if you're feeling that loss of faith, because when you're asking a question like, is it too late to heal? It sounds like a loss of faith. When you have that loss of faith, that's when you need to get outside, connect to nature, Listen to the birds, the wind, the dirt beneath your feet, the stream through the mountains or the ocean. Whatever it is that is going to just connect you to the source.
Well, it's reminding me of one of my favorite quotes. And of course, I never remember who said anything, so I apologize. But it's that beautiful quote, nature never hurries, yet everything is accomplished.
Yeah, nature's always on time.
When you get out in nature, you have a natural sense, too, of how long it takes to accomplish goals, how long it takes from when you plant that seed to when you eat the fruit. It doesn't happen in the same day. And so it can give you a sense of attuning to your own natural rhythms of the birth, transformation, death cycle just within yourself. That's one of the things I get from nature. It's just a recognition of slowing down, but also there's always movement, there's always growth, even if you can't see it.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything for it to happen.
Right.
Like the caterpillar is not going anywhere to turn into the butterfly.
Right.
It's in a stationary...
It's happening.
Yeah.
The process of growth and transformation is something that we co-create. We don't create it in our entirety. It's a co-creation.
And thinking about this opposition with the sun and Pluto, it's about being willing to transform. By being in relationship with your partner, you're committing to saying, we are in this to transform. And it's not just going to happen one time and then, we live happily ever after. It's going to be a constant evolution of continual transformation through the entirety of your relationship with this individual. So if you want to remain with that individual and that individual wants to remain with you, then you are committing to understanding that this relationship is about transformation. We're doing serious work here, deep growth.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Shell.
Okay.
Yes.
Our next question comes from Tom X10, and this is a follow-up to a question he asked a couple weeks back. He says, my only concern is because of how sensitive society is, thanks to Neptune in Pisces, then Aries, how should I get my taboo cartoon idea out there without hurting anyone?
I don't know if you do, Tom X10. I mean, you're going to offend somebody. Absolutely. I mean, I put out a video on Instagram, a reel, a few weeks ago, comparing the astrological similarities between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. And almost immediately after I put that out, somebody commented and said that this is offensive because Donald Trump is a rapist and Kamala Harris is a great woman who's helping people, and I don't care what the planets and stars, and just went on this tangent. It was like, you open this door, and I mean, I felt threatened by this comment that was saying, just remember, you opened the door. And I'm like, what? Wow, really? Like, I didn't even make any comment that...
Well, that's not opinion-based. That's just a fact.
I'm just giving the facts.
That's what I mean.
Did they have these commonalities with the same North Node?
Well, and that is very interesting.
And yeah, exactly. Donald Trump was born with the sun at 22 degrees in Gemini. Kamala Harris was born with the rising sign at 24 degrees in Gemini. Like, that's just interesting to me. I'm not here to judge either of them, but that's how easy it is to offend people. So I guess the question is for you, Tom, how important is it for you to put this out? Like, some people are going to love it. Some people are probably not. And you have to be willing to learn how to navigate the flack. It's something that I've learned in doing this podcast and being on social media, that I'm always trying to be respectful. I'm trying to walk the line, and still I piss people off. And so, at some point, you just have to say, I'm doing my best and not everyone's going to like me.
Part of what I hear in this too, Tom, is that there's an emerging relationship with your authentic nature. And I think whenever we decide to step into our authenticity, there's always a risk. But the reward in that is that we're going to connect to the people who really can love and appreciate us once we have the courage to be ourselves and to put work out in the world that is authentically connected to who we are, how we see life itself. And so there is a risk in that always, but the reward, I believe, is even greater. And so I think it's not about moving forward without fear. It's about moving forward recognizing that there is fear, but that your courage to do so and your desire for the reward is greater than the fear and is greater than the risk. But that they will coexist. We all have to move forward while being fearful at the same time. It's really an illusion that we can perfectly extract fear from our experience. I'm going to wait and move forward and release my cartoon until I don't have fear anymore. It's never going to happen.
Right, exactly. Fear is a part of life. Hurting people and getting hurt is a part of life. It doesn't mean that you intentionally should be trying to hurt people.
Of course.
But look, you see it with kids all the time. You spend an afternoon with a child and they're going to laugh, they're going to have so much fun, and then they're going to trip and they're going to hurt themselves and they're going to start crying. Nobody tried to hurt them. It wasn't on purpose. You're learning from a very young age that you're going to bump your head and get hurt sometimes, and that's just life. So the sooner that you can accept that, and the sooner that you can accept that even by having the best intentions, you might hurt somebody, then you can actually breathe and live your life.
Absolutely.
Okay, beautifully put. Thank you for your insight there, Gabriella.
Yeah, thank you. Our next question comes from Lupo. I'm wondering how one is affected if a planet returns to its initial position in the birth chart. How is it changing how I experience things?
Interesting. Well, it happens every year on your birthday. That's your solar return. Every year on your birthday, the sun returns to the exact place that it was when you were born. So how does your birthday feel to you? When any planet returns to where it was when you were born, it's like re-energizing that point. So you are having more of a visceral, literal experience of what it means to have whatever planet is having its return. You're re-experiencing what that means. So how is it changing how I experience things? Maybe just as you grow older, you have a different awareness in terms of, I see things differently now. Every year on my birthday, I feel like I learned something new.
I'm thinking about, if the feeling that's coming up for me is when you move away from your childhood home and then you drive by again or you go back and visit.
Yeah.
There's this experience of,
wow, I lived there.
I lived there. I remember it, but I'm so different that I'm further away from the memories.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
So there's some sort of deja vu in a sense, but also you're not the same person that you were when that transit first occurred. So you're experiencing the same transit as a different version of yourself.
Someone,
so there's something familiar
wow.
and something different at the same time.
Yes. Someone just posted, it's making me think of someone in my 8th grade class just posted our 8th grade graduation on YouTube. And I watched it. I didn't watch the whole thing yet, but like I watched the first few minutes and I was like,
who is
this
that?
is weird. I can't imagine what kids today are going to feel like when they're my age and they're looking back at these videos. Because, like, you know, I've got a few videos of myself as a kid, but revisiting that, it's like you're seeing yourself from this outside position.
Yes.
It's very odd.
Well, another image for this is a spiral. So you're completing a circle, but because it's a spiral, you're also getting further away from that original experience.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. I mean, it's like every time a planet returns to where it was when you were born, you've been on a journey since it was last there.
Right. So there's some sort of cycle that you've completed.
Yes.
And at the same time, like you're coming to that with a different awareness because of the journey that you've been on.
Right. So, I mean, like, how is it changing how I experience things? I think it's like the change is happening in the in-between time. Because how much do you change in a year? From the time the sun was where it was when you were born to the next year and the next year. And then do that for Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Chiron at age 50. I don't know if it is changing how you experience things, but you are realizing how much you have changed.
Right. Maybe it's a touchstone, a moment to recognize the change.
Exactly.
It's a great question. It's so simple, but somehow abstract to answer.
It's deep.
It's deep.
Yeah, totally.
But it's changing how you experience things because you're changing and the world is always changing.
Yep.
So you're coming back to a familiar point and yet everything has changed. So it's a paradox.
That's right.
Yeah, let us know how that lands.
Yes,
That's
Lupo.
such a great, interesting
you.
question.
Yes.
Our last question comes from Linnea. Hi, my Mercury is at 1 degrees in Taurus and pulled back into my 6th house in Aries. Is there a term for these placements and how do you interpret them? This placement also determines if I have an Aries or a Taurus stellium.
So what you're describing, Linnea, is your Mercury is in Taurus, but it's in your 6th house, which is in Aries. So I don't know. I mean, there might be a term for these placements. There probably is. I'm not a real technical sort of person when it comes to interpreting a chart. The way that I look at it is your 6th house is in Aries and your Mercury is in Taurus in the 6th house. So whether or not you have a stellium in Aries or Taurus depends on where the other planets are. If you have 2 more planets in Taurus, then you have a stellium in Taurus. If you have 3 planets along with Mercury in Taurus in your 6th house, if you have 3 planets in Aries along with Mercury in Taurus, then you have a stellium in Aries.
So maybe a point of clarification here is that the stellium has to do with the number of planets in a sign. They don't have to be in the same house.
Correct.
So that might be part of the confusion.
There's 2 different stelliums. You could have a 6th house stellium. You could have a Taurus stellium. You could have an Aries stellium. If you have 1 planet in Taurus in the 6th house, and then 2 other planets in Taurus in the 7th house, you still have a Taurus stellium. But if you have 1 planet in Taurus and 2 planets in Aries, that are all in the sixth house, then you have a sixth house stellium.
I think either way, whether they're in the same house or just the same sign, the interpretation is similar, right? Because it's a concentration of energy in that same in the qualities that sign rules.
Well, the way that I would interpret somebody who is born with the sixth house in Aries is you're somebody who the sixth house is the house of service. So you're somebody who is very confident, courageous, maybe even aggressive in the way that you live your daily life, your routine, your health, your diet, your job. You want to be the boss at work. And if Mercury is in Taurus in the sixth house, then Mercury's in a position of power because it's in the house that it rules. So you have a very analytical or critical way of thinking, but there may be some stagnation to the way that you process your thoughts and communicate those thoughts because the bull moves slow unless it's pressured. So I would just say that, I guess everything that I just said, that you're somebody who, when it comes to daily life, you want that activity, that go energy, that's the Aries energy, but at the same time, maybe your mind doesn't keep up all the time with what it is you're wanting to do each day. So there is this sort of dichotomy that, we all experience these contradictions within ourselves because the way that the signs graduate from sign to sign, they're very different from each other. Like Aries is very different from Taurus, and Taurus is very different from Gemini, and Gemini is very different from Cancer. Cancer is very different from Leo, and so on and so forth. But the funny thing is that Mercury is never more than one sign away from the sun, and Venus is never more than 2 signs away from the sun. So if you are a Aries sun, there's a good chance that you will have a Taurus Mercury or a Venus Mercury. Or if you're a Taurus sun, then you may have a Aries Mercury or Aries Venus. And if you have that Aries Taurus energy, one really wants to go, is very impatient, and the other one never wants to move.
Right.
So there's this inner conflict happening.
But also you could say that with Mercury and Taurus, that her mental process is offering some grounding in the face of all of this impulsivity.
Totally.
That could be a really nice sort of like anchoring to slowing you down in terms of how you're moving through the world in your daily life.
Yep.
So this feels to me like it could be like, I don't know, the training wheels on the bike, or like helping you like ground and take a moment before you move forward. And your mental process is sort of forcing you to be grounded.
Yeah, to take your time.
Yeah, but it could feel like tension at the same time.
Sure. But also with the sixth house in Aries, maybe you have the confidence to say, give me space. I need to take my time right now. The way that I look at the houses and the planets, like people always ask me, like, well, this house is empty. What does that mean? Like, my 7th house is empty. I'm never going to be in a relationship. No, that's not what it means. If one house is empty, then that's an apple. If another house has multiple planets in it, or even one planet, think of that as apple pie. It's more complex. There's more ingredients. So one ingredient is Aries, another ingredient is Taurus, Mercury in Taurus. So just how do you interpret those 2 ingredients? What does the 6th house in Aries mean? What does Mercury in Taurus mean in the 6th house? 6th house in Aries, somebody who's confident, courageous, and needs that activity in daily life. Very confident and courageous in the daily life, maybe even combative. Mercury in the 6th house, somebody who's analytical, critical thinker, sees the details. Mercury in Taurus, somebody who's mentally attuned to the senses and enjoying the 5 physical senses, likes and dislikes.
Great question.
Cool. Thank you, Linnea.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, Gabriella.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you to our listeners. Hope you have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the weekly transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any others may be affecting you, or if you are interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. If you're interested in delving into the world of psychotherapy with Gabriella, you can connect with her at innervisionpsychotherapy.com. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.